Hello, everyone. This is Coach Darius Ducre of the 58 Style Hair Strength and Conditioning Coach. I'm here with Hall of Fame Hair Strength and Conditioning Coach, a legend in the field. Blessed to have as my mentor, Coach Dana LeDuc. Coach, it is a pleasure to have you on today. I hope that your trip, I know you and your family, you and your wife made it back out there to Washington. Y'all had a little hiccup the other day. But so glad that we were able to reschedule. How's it going, Coach? Oh,
it's going good, man. Yeah, we got that windshield. Finally, after 3 summers of taking rocks, we got it done, man. And this last rock forced us to take it down all the way. So,
Sure. I got a Jeep. I'm going to be doing the same thing real soon, Coach.
Yeah.
So really, really quickly, again, you have such an extensive career. I don't think a lot of people know. You're one of America's, first strength coaches, as well as, just as an athlete yourself with the accolades that you have. 2.5 minutes is going to be hard, but can you just share with everybody, your career experience and how you came up into the field?
I came out of Washington State. I took a scholarship to Kansas originally to throw the shot put. I figured I'd play football if I wanted to. And, I got to Kansas, man. They had the top 3 shot putters in America in college. And the top guy was a guy that was one of the top 5 or 6 internationally. So I learned a lot about weight training. I'd never lifted a weight out here in Washington growing up. I threw 64 feet. In high school, which was about 1/4 of an inch off the all-time state record. I didn't really know. I had a great coach in high school. I played basketball. I was about 6'3", 230, 235. I played football. I played all of them, but I fell in love with that shot put. And then when I got to Kansas, man, that 16-pound ball is a different animal. And, that 4 pounds to move up to the Olympic caliber, college caliber, I knew I'd have to start lifting. Even though I threw 55 feet in high school with a 16, it still wasn't going to get it. They was throwing 70 feet. So I got on the weights there for a year. It just was too cold for me. I came to the Texas Relays my freshman year, fell in love with Austin, and I brought my training. Actually, I ended up going to UTEP for a semester, University of Texas, El Paso. They had a big Swedish freshman that I was going to have to compete against. He got 3rd in the NCAAs my freshman year. I got 10th. And the winner of the NCAAs my freshman year in Eugene was the senior at UTEP, Fred DiBernardi. Anyway, both those guys were training there. So my buddy from high school, who was from Idaho, went to Washington State. We both transferred to UTEP. And our head coach got fired, man, in November. When I got there in August, man, half the team was gone to the Olympic Games. We had a hell of a team. And, we were right there by Las Cruces. And anyway, I really enjoyed that part of the country. When he got let go, we're like, oh, man, we're here. And it could be ugly. Let's go. And I almost went to UT. It was between UT and UTEP. But UT had Big Bishop Delegowitz, who was my age. And I would have had the school record at UT. I needed to go where I could get better, where guys were better than me, so I could push myself. That's always been my MO, man. I got to be around guys that are better than me. And that's kind of what I did when I brought in people as a strength coach. So off we go to UT, trained there, won the NCAA championship. I was going to California to train for the Olympics. Darryl Royal called me into his office and said, hey, man, these guys think you can help us. Some of the players were sneaking up into the weight room against the will of the head trainer and them to work out. We're like, oh, man, you dudes, hey, man, you guys are like 270, 280. You're faster than we are for 10 yards. You out-jump us in the vertical. You outweigh us by 30, 40 pounds. What are you guys doing? I said, man, you got to come up here and lift weights. Well, we're not supposed to, but a few of the guys. So anyway, at the end of the day, man, he called me and said, hey, the guys think you can help us. I'll never forget. He said, we'll offer you $10,000 a year, man, whatever you make it. I know what your degree is in. You're going to be a teacher. Your first year teaching salary would be about $10,000. That's what we'll give you. And we'll go from there. And as a coach, I got to talk to my folks. I came up through the military. My dad was in the Army out here in Fort Lewis, Washington, and Tacoma. And And I called him. He said, son, if you don't take that job, don't ever think about coming back here. He said, you know who Darrell Royal is, University of Texas. You got to take that job. So I did. And I felt my way through it. And I trained my guys the same way I did, man, explosively. And because I'd been through it, man. When I took a semester off my junior year and moved to Dallas to train with some Olympians. And they were Olympic lifters as well as throwers. And I wasn't we weren't all that crazy about Olympic lifting, man. It was awful hard, and you get tired real easily. And so, we just tend to press more, bench, incline, squat. We never really did deadlifts. We do cleans every now and then. We didn't do any snatches. We didn't do any close grip snatches. We didn't do a lot of jerks, but, so we're like, hey, when I was up there, man, my stuff got better. Practice throws got better. I'm like, why is this? Well, it's got to be the lifting that I'm doing. So I went back after a semester and, got back into school and got ready for my senior year. And I was throwing as far as I've ever thrown. And, the guys kind of, they weren't really all that high on doing this because I was doing Olympic lift. And then the guys in Dallas like, hey, man, we're not pressing till the end of the day. That'd be the last thing we do is bench press. And if we do, we're going to put a pillow on our chest and we're going to explode it off our chest. We don't want to do anything slow. And so I kind of brought back some of those techniques and they were with it for a while. They're like, man, this stuff, this gasses you out. I could kind of get the feeling. I'm like, man. So I went back with them and the old school stuff we'd been doing. And my stuff started going down distance-wise. I'm saying, that's it. I'm going back to my stuff that I did in Dallas. And they kind of came along with me and we all got better, man. So, and that's how I trained my guys to be explosive. I knew enough about football, man. You got to be explosive to play the game, no matter what position you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, Coach. How, especially coming from an era where when you started, there was this big, I guess this negative view of hitting the iron, of hitting the weights, and the thought of it was going to make guys or athletes slower. What motivated you to push, that effort of, hey, this isn't going to hurt our guys. This is really going to be beneficial, not just to the sport, but long term for in their athletic careers.
Well, one of the things when we came back my senior year, a lot of those players, were in my classes. They had me one time jump up on a 50-inch box. I was weighing 290 pounds. And the professor goes, hey, you want to see something amazing? Let me show you what weight training will do. Do you think this guy can jump up on this box? This is in the middle of one of my exercise physiology classes. He brings a box in. I jump up on it, and the girls are like, what? You gotta be kidding me. I said, well, you got to train to do this. And then the players would see us out during spring ball. We'd be throwing, and they're like, hey, man, you guys want to race? And we'd line up for 10 yards, man, and we'd beat them by a yard or two. We outweighed them by 30. So my guys, the guys at UT saw me doing this, and they knew what I was doing to be able to do this, outweigh them, outjump them. And I dunked a shot put one time in a class, a 16-pound shot put. We put a mattress down. I jumped up with a 16-pound shot and dunked it through a rim. You got to be kidding me. You can jump. I could dunk it any way you wanted it dunked, standing flat-footed at 290 pounds. And they all saw this in the classes that I had. And they're like, so, Coach, really, quite honestly, it wasn't much of a tough sell. Had I come in from the outside, they didn't know me from Adam, dude, it would have been a whole different animal. I'd have really had to sell the thing, right? But they saw me. And I said, hey, y'all want to come up to the gym? I mean, I wish we'd have had video back then, because two of us jerked 500 pounds behind the neck. We jerked 500 off the racks, jerked 500. Come on up and we'll show you what we do. Squatted 805, bench 560. Come on up. We'll show you what we do. And they did. And when I got that job, it was like, quite honestly, the toughest part was making these guys do what you wanted them to do, because, hey, wait a minute, man, we was out drinking last year. We were in the bar together. Now, how you going to be my boss? Now, hey, I got that title now. I'm the boss man. So, hey, don't be giving me no bullcorn because this is what we're going to do. They hired me to do a job. I'm still going to be your friend, but it wasn't until the first couple of years to get those classes out of there where the younger cats came in. They're like, hey, we heard about you. They hadn't seen me, but they'd heard enough about me to know, hey, this cat knows what's going on, man, because he got that BT degree. Been there, BT, DT, been there, done that. And so for me, it was quite honestly, Coach, it was a pretty easy sell.
So let's talk about, you're talking about, the exercises, the integral lifts that you were utilizing with a lot of your athletes. Because correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you were the first strength coach at UT, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So you're dealing with football and other sports, and you're out there. Where did you? I mean, methodology wise, where did you look to get your methodology for the success of your teams there? And talking about like progressions and everything like me. Yourself and other coaches that are our predecessors. I mean, you all set the foundation. You know what I mean, for a lot of guys and gals like myself who are coaching. How do you get this information when nowadays information is right at our hands with the cell phones?
Coach, my freshman year at Kansas, I told you one of those throwers, Carl Saul. He was he beat Randy Matson at the Pan American Games. He had traveled all over. He was one of the best in the U.S. He had been to Germany and trained with Hans-Peter Gies, Brisnik, the top throwers in the world that were East German, West German. And at the time, the East Germans were way ahead, and even some of the Soviets, Baryshnikov. Hey, you're training with these dudes, and you're seeing what they do because you're in the weight rooms over there in Europe. And you're competing, and therefore you're lifting with those guys. He would bring back all this technical stuff that the Germans, by either watching them and or being able to conversate through an interpreter, he brought this back to Lawrence, Kansas. Dude, I was sucking this up like a vacuum cleaner. Number one, because I wanted to win. Carl won 6 NCAA titles, 3 indoors and 3 outdoors. And he was runner-up as a freshman. He was 4th place at the Olympic trials. They wouldn't let that was his freshman year coming out of Arkansas. Recruited by 6'4", 260 pounds, threw 69 feet. It was a national prep record. Frank Broyles wanted him to play football. The guy was a beast in 1967, right? So 68, his freshman year. Coach, he's 4th place at the Olympic trials right out of high school. He just missed making the Olympic team. So, dude, he would have won 8 titles, but freshmen could not compete on a varsity. He had better throws than anybody in the country as a true freshman. Like I said, he was runner-up, 4th place, just missed at the Olympic trials. I got 5th place as a senior. This dude was 4th place as a freshman. So, dude, he was big time and really a smart guy. His father was a doctor in Crossett, Arkansas, same hometown as Barry Switzer, right across from Monroe, Louisiana. And so, dude, he was one of the smartest guys I ever met. So I was sopping up all the stuff, anything in training. We pretty much did, the stuff he wanted. Heck, I didn't know anything, Coach. I'd never lifted a weight. But one of the big things we did do that the Germans thought was good was always to build a strong base. Find that 80, 85%, 5 sets of 5 always seem to be, if you're going to have a player that's going to last throughout a season, throughout a track season, throughout a football season, which is the way I looked at it anyway. I know you can't peak for every game, but one thing's for sure, you want to have a solid foundation, whether it's building a house or building a foundation for your body from the standpoint of power. So I can remember doing a lot of 5x5, man. And then we'd have areas of time where we'd go up and we'd work on our maximum strength. Coach, this was back in 1971. The Germans were on top. They were kicking our butt. and the Olympic Games, the swimming, everything else. Now, all else being equal with everything else that was going on at that time in the world of athletics, as we well know, hey, they were still, the East Germans, a country the size of New York. They were beating the United States of America in gold medals. They were doing something right, and they had science on their side. So I picked up a lot of that. And then when I went to UTEP, Fred DiBernardi was a top dog as well at that point in time. He had traveled throughout. And then the Hans Hoagland kid, the freshman from Sweden, he was a 21, 22-year-old Swede. He brought that Scandinavian background of training. So here I am sucking all this in. And then when I go to UT, Bishop was from Canada, from Toronto. He had, there was a number of Germans and Russians that defected to Canada. He was getting all that info every summer. He would bring that back to us. So together, all of us, we put together our own we didn't have a coach at UT. We didn't have a weight coach. We didn't have a throws coach. We watched each other, and two of us were national champions. McGoldrick from Idaho and the discus, and myself and the shot. And Bishop was right there, always number 2 or number 3 in the country. So with all that training, and then after 4 years, dude, I had no idea that there would ever be a strength coach for college. All I know is that I sucked this knowledge in because I wanted to be the best. And I worked, we swore to each other that nobody around the country would work harder than we would. And that when we showed up at a track meet wearing that Texas singlet with that Texas across the front of your chest, we felt like we were supermen. And that people would learn to respect the throwers from Texas would always stand tall. And that's the way we looked at it, Coach. We had a chip on our shoulder like, hey, man, we're down here in the middle of nowhere in the central part of the state. But I'm going to tell you one thing. People going to find out about us now.
Yes, sir.
Whether it's Kansas relays, Drake relays, Penn relays, West Coast relays, they're going to know when they see the guys. Well, we heard about y'all. Y'all some bad dudes. Yeah. You ain't seen nothing yet. So we'll show you. That's kind of the attitude we had, man.
Now, let me ask you this, Coach. When your transition to being a full-time strength coach, and when you were able to, because you went from Texas, you had a little stint at Miami, and then you were able to go into the NFL. When you were able to develop your staff, what was some of the ways that you were able to create buy-in from your athletes with you and your staff, or just, you by yourself? Because I know you were at Texas by yourself for a period of time too.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I would talk to them about was, hey, man, I hate to tell you, but, you are not limited by what your body weight says you are right now. Now, one of the things that is for sure, when I would test a freshman coming in, I would show him pictures as time would go by, because I put them against a module on the wall where you could see them with shorts on. You could see their neck, their biceps, arms out, their quads, their abs, everything, shirt off, shorts on only. I would measure them anthropometrically, 3 inches above the patella, 7 inches above the tella, at the gastroc, at the waist, at the shoulders, at the biceps, at the neck. I had all these measurements every year. And I would show them players of years gone by, pictures and measurements. Here it is, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. You want to change like this? This is what you have to do. We had no video at the time. We didn't video. We had pictures. And, Coach, it spoke 1,000 words. Now, again, if you want to look and see what I did, if you want to look at my background, because number one, who's giving you this milk? It's going to come from a cow. He knows how to give the milk. So I am the cow. This is what I did in my career. I wasn't a football player, but here at the Olympic Development Camp, here's my vertical jump, 34 inches at 295 pounds. Here's my body composition, 13% body fat at 295. Here are the measurements. I still have all that stuff. Here is my fast twitch to slow twitch when they did a biopsy on my calf. And the guy is still at UT that did that biopsy. He was at Ball State at the time. He's the head of the department still to this day. He texted me. I mean, he Facebooked my wife and said, is this Dana LeDuc's wife? Yeah. He said, Coach, I'm here after 40 years. I remember the last time I saw you, I did your bicep, your gastroc test. So I had all this information, and I saved it for some odd reason. And player after player, if they ever wanted to come back, I thought I'd be there a while. If they ever wanted to come back and show their children how they developed, hey, this is what your dad looked like coming out. There's a lot of cases, their high school coaches didn't save a lot of stuff, nor did they even train in high school at the time. So I had this volume of information for them to show their wife and their coach. Can you pull that out? They'd come in on a Saturday morning or Friday afternoon for a Saturday home game. Oh, dude, come on down, because I was done in the afternoon on Friday for a home game. Come on down, man. I'll show you. I'd have guys coming in all the time. Oh, it was great. I mean, they loved it, and that motivated their kids.
Now, Coach, I'm gonna bring you to the industry, because I know. Please remind me, because you had some of the first dealings with the NSCA. The exam and the organization itself, correct?
Yeah, we were founding fathers. There was like 69 of us in 1977 that went to Lincoln, Nebraska, that founded the NSCA.
That's okay.
69 coaches. There was a couple of pro coaches, and all the rest of us were college coaches.
So let me ask you, in terms of where it started and where we are now, what do you think we need to do to better continue to move the needle forward and establishing ourselves? You know, it seems like there's this constant push that we have to continue to reprove ourselves as professionals in the industry.
Well, you know, quite honestly, I mean, the thing has grown so fast and has gotten so huge. I think they got away from a little bit of the practical information that you really need. I mean, again, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So to say that you need to press like this, to say that you need to bounce the bar, to say that you need to touch and go, to say that you need to have a wide grip, a close grip. I mean, you have to give these coaches on an individual level, you have to give them, they have to have some leeway, so they don't become tied to one script. Because quite honestly, this whole organization needs to be tied in together worldwide. We need to have the Russians on board. We need to have the Germans on board. We need to get some of the old school coaches and physiologists that are still alive that should be conducting and meeting together somewhere in the world and establishing a better criteria. Because quite honestly, my times in Europe and Russia, we were the laughing stock, our coaches. You guys do anything. You don't have to be certified to be a coach. Anybody can be a coach in the USA. I'm saying, well, yeah, I guess you're right. You know, there was no certification. People were plugging people in. And, you know, I think we've gotten away from, you know, things gotten so big. It's a money thing, and they put on this, that, and the other. I would love to see this thing tied into more of a practicum to where, you know, techniques, but, you know, not every techniques can be slightly different, you know, from the power clean. You know, the Russians always told me, put the bar should be resting right over your first two eyelets on your shoes. You know, then you got some people that teach you that the bar needs to be on your shins. You know, roll it in close to your shins. Well, that's totally opposite of what the Russians are saying. Well, I looked at who the best in the world were. Quite honestly, it was Alexiev and David Riegert. And so, hey, that's what I'm going to do, because, again, I want to be the best in the world. So, you know, somehow we've gotten away from making this more of a practicum. And also, you know, when you get into sets and reps, I mean, there's got to be, you got the bigger, faster, stronger method. You got the pyramid, 10, 8, 6. That, we can roll out the ball and just say, do the pyramid, or we can take the athlete's temperature every day by seeing basically how strong. That's an angel spaz off way. Before we do 90%, 95% of it, I want to see what the temperature is. And basically that means I want to see how strong he is today. Because quite honestly, if you start out on a 7, 6, 7, 8 week plan and you test the athlete before you go, hey, 6 weeks down the road, he could be a lot stronger than what your single was. So you might have him doing 80% going by the original pre-test single. And really you might be at 72% rather than 80 because the kid's gotten stronger, especially if he's a beginner. Because these kids will get strong in a hurry. So what's wrong with seeing where he's at that particular day? Take him up quick. Don't fatigue him. Do a set of 50% for 3 reps, 70% for 1, 80. Not okay. We've done 5 reps, dude. Your single today is 300. That's already 20 pounds more than the 280 you tested at 5, 6 weeks ago. So we are going to do 90% of 300, not 280. So we need to be more on point and more active with where the athlete is now. So again, that's an Angel Spazoff thing to where he liked to call it, I'm going to check your temperature today. And I get that. And I've used that. I'm going to tell you something. It works. It works.
Now, Coach, I got to ask you because, as I get older in the field, and I know when I got in, Coach, I know I'm going to have to shout him out. Coach Justin Schwinn likes to use the term piss and vinegar. We out on the floor, we're yelling, we're loud, especially when we're maxing our athletes out or we're going through our speed testing or conditioning tests. Where was your coaching style back when you started? And then I definitely would think everybody would love to know how your style changed, if it did change when you were working with the professional athletes with the NFL.
Well, my style as a result from throwing and lifting myself has always been learn how to turn it on and learn how to turn it off. I realize that adrenaline flow, man, it doesn't last forever. And I also understand that, when it's going to be a big day in the weight room, it is game day in the weight room. When it's game day in the weight room, it's like, dude, I got 6 throws. I cannot in between for 15, 10, 12, whatever it is time-wise before I'm up again. I can't be running around acting a fool, right? Because the next throw I get in for, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I'm finished. So early on in my career, and I plugged it into the weight room. It's kind of just one of the things I did. I never really talked to anybody about it, but I felt like if I did this, I would be juiced up just as much for the next single and or the next throw. So I have always taught my guys, listen, learn how to turn this on and turn it off. Out on that football field, you don't have to act a clown and a wild man, while that other team's in the huddle and lining up. Hey, the minute they come to that line of scrimmage, you flip the switch. The minute that whistle blows, you learn how to flip it off. And you're going to have to do that 60 times, a hell of a lot more than what I had to do 6 times. So, yeah, I mean, it's always been for me, I call it flip the switch. And you know what? It's proven to be pretty good for me. And the players, a lot of these guys, young guys, man, they have been they've come back and been very thankful to me because they never really got that. They was trying to be on. And you know how that goes, man. 4th quarter, you're toast. You just can't you can't rev it up, man. And there comes a point in time. They say the Russians have always said you're good for about 45 minutes, and that's it. And then that body, the adrenaline and everything else, man, the hormones that begin to shut down. So somehow, my endocrine system's affecting my hormone levels. and my adrenaline, which I know how to flip on and flip off. We've all heard the stories about lifting heavy cars off of folks, when you're juiced up and high as a dang kite. Well, yeah, you got to do that, but you can't run that forever. It don't work. So I've always called it flip the switch, man. If somehow it just came on to me as a young little freshman. I did a little bit of it in high school. Again, we didn't really know what we were doing, man. My coach, Tom Sawyer, God bless him, man. He was a good man. He tried to get me. He was a former Marine. He tried to get me hyped up, but I can't see that yelling all the time, man. Because you know what? Sooner or later, what's important and what's not important, man. Is everything that important? Yeah, it's all important. But you know what? When you get under that bar and you're going to hit a load that you've never hit before, you better have your ass ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally different than if I'm used to bicep curling, 150 pounds for 10 reps. I've been there, done that, and I got that BTDT. Hey, ain't nothing to that now. So
yes, sir. So, Coach, let me ask you this. Is there anything that you feel that you might have done differently in your career? Any mistakes that you think that you might have made that if you could push the rewind button, you can go back and redo?
Probably looking at building that base. I might have spent a little bit too much time throughout the year in the off season worrying about that. However, we'd have some kids, and again, as times have changed, I probably should have changed a little bit more with it. But again, not always knowing what the kids in high school were doing, because when I first started, there was no training. So I needed to spend a lot of time on that. And boy, we got a lot of growth, Coach. We got a lot of growth out of our kids, by doing that base work. I was never really big on tens. I honestly think that strength is endurance, but endurance is not necessarily strength. If I had you doing 2 1/4 at the combine, I'm not going to have you mess with 2 1/4. If you do 300 pounds, say you do 2 1/4 for 7 or 8 reps, hey, I'm going to try to get your single to 350. Now go back down to 2 1/4. All of a sudden, Coach, we haven't even done reps. And I'm doing 12, 13 reps now. Well, yeah, again, strength is endurance, but not necessarily is endurance strength. And, if you really want to train endurance, I'm not so sure that, it doesn't maybe do more harm than good for your chances to really improve when it comes to a high rep test. So, when the kids would come out of high school way back, they had done nothing, Coach. So I really spent, like myself, I looked at it like that. But as time went on, some of these kids were coming out of good programs. I probably could have done a little less time, building a base and gotten them more into, to more maximal strength development.
So, we got a lot of youngsters, a lot of young coaches coming up in the field. What is a person with your extensive background, Coach? And you've been giving me some great advice within my career. What's some advice that you could offer, a young coach coming up in undergrad, an intern or GA, that's really trying to get a foothold into where he or she wants to be in?
Well, the money has changed so much in this business. I would say this: if you're getting into it because of the money, the $5,000, the $6,000, the $700,000 a year salaries, you're getting in it for the wrong reason. I think you have to get in it. I think you have to get in it for one of the same reasons that I got in it. And that is, you're done with your career, whatever it may be. If you happen to have been an athlete, if you happen to have been whatever you happen to be, now it's time to focus on somebody else's career. You want to take, with every ounce of knowledge you can gain, and help develop a young man or a young woman into being the very, very best they can be physically, so that they can perform at the highest possible level. If you don't see yourself wanting to take and lead that ride for that athlete, and now we're talking about multiple athletes, to see that ride and to take that ride with them on an individual basis. And I'm talking about most of these coaches will be responsible for, it could be 100 or more athletes, depending on what sports you have. But as a head football guy, you know you got 100 at least with walk-ons and scholarships. If you don't see yourself doing that and not worrying about the hours and not worrying about whatever it takes, you know, you're probably getting in it for the right reason. If you're getting in it because you think, well, man, look at me, you know, I'm going to be look at the money I'm going to make as a strength coach. Quite honestly, if we're recruiting really good players, you know, I can work hard with them and this and that and the other, but I could do this for 5 years and be retired. No. You're barking up the wrong tree. You're better off going and working for Microsoft or Amazon and using your brains and doing something. If you want to retire in a short period of time and you're not totally committed to each and every individual that you have, be it a male or female athlete, and what makes them tick and what drives them. And, you know, you're going to be involved with each and every one of these athletes. Mentally, you've got to know where they're at on a daily basis when they come into train. I mean, you are a psychologist, you are a motivator, you are a mentor. In many cases, if you're not into all these things and wearing about 7 or 8 different hats, you're in the wrong business. And for crying out loud, please don't get into it for the money. Because there was no money when we were in it. There was a little bit of money for me at the end of my career after 35 years. But it wasn't until about I'd still be working if it wasn't for the St. Louis Rams, honestly. And now, I mean, you know, Alabama, Iowa, Texas, these guys, you do 5 years at $500,000 or $600,000, $3 million. You're walking with 1.5. I mean, you do 10 years of that, you know, you got $2 or $3 million in the bank, 5% tax free. Please, $150,000 a year. Who can't live on that? There's a lot of strength coaches don't make $150,000 a year tax free. You know, you start getting to Texas State, you start going to even UT El Paso or New Mexico State. They ain't making that kind of dough. Some of these strength coaches now at these D1 schools are making as much as these Mid-American Conference head football coaches are making. All these guys don't make $700,000-800,000 a year. A lot of them are making $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. So again, man, my big deal is, hey, you better be in it for what it is, and you better be willing to wear a lot of hats, and you better be willing to sacrifice a lot of time. You can't punch in and punch out. You don't worry about your hourly wage. People would tell me, dude, you know how much you make an hour when you spend 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day up here? You know? And then I took all the women's programs at UT on in 77 for 1 month's salary for $880 for 12 months, 880 divided by 12 months, divided by all of the female athletes. I just thought, well, that'll be $880. So what, you know, oh, absolutely. Yes. Or the police academy for $750 at 5 a.m. for 30 or 40 police academy. Yeah, I'll do that. You know, I'd like to see these guys a little more fit around campus. The UT systems people, wherever they're at, UT El Paso, wherever they're at. So you're not worried about the money. You ain't worried about the money. You'll find a way to make it, but you better be willing as you go into this field. You better be willing to adapt and midstream adjust, whatever it takes. You know, your guy comes in, he broke up with his girlfriend. Girlfriend just came in to work out. She just broke up with her boyfriend. All together through. What you gonna do, coach? What you gonna do? How you gonna handle that? So, I mean, dude, you got to start thinking about all these different scenarios that could possibly hit you as a coach. Because believe me, they're gonna come at you.
Absolutely, Coach. 10 minutes if you would, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. And I definitely want you to be able to talk about your summer program that you have going on out there in Washington. But just as we come to the conclusion, is there anything that you feel that that was left unsaid that you'd like to add on to anything that you were talking about today?
I'll tell you what, man. I look back, and here I am, 67, with no children, but I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children that are out there. I wish I could have seen my own grow up and see how he or she would have been in this world. And athletically, having been a pretty decent athlete, that would have been fun to watch as I see the Eric Metcalfs come in with Terry Metcalf, as I see Blake Brockermeyer, who played for us. Now his two boys are the two best linemen of the state of Texas. As I see, David Hall, who was a GA for me, his daughter, Anna Hall, just broke the prep record last year. She's a freshman at Georgia. As I see all my friends and former players, Lyle Sinline, who played for the Cardinals. He was a starting center out there for 9 years. He played at UT. He comes up to me one day, "Hey, Coach, after the game, Coach, my dad's in the stands." "Who's your dad?" "Robin Sinline." "What?" "Robin Sinline played for me at UT. That's his son. I was still coaching. He was a starting center for the Cardinals when we played him when I was at the Rams." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me." So then Robin is like one of my children. So to see his son out there. So I can call any one of my former players. I love them. I'll be there for them. I'll do anything in my power to help them in any way, shape, or form. Like yourself, being able to help mentor young coaches in this field. I don't want anybody's job. I'm done. I've had a great career. When I called it a day, I called it a day. I'm not looking for anything else. Now we're out here in Washington, and 9 years ago we started this camp. This is the poorest county out here where we're at, Grays Harbor County. It's right on the ocean. And, most of our kids are single parent. The spotted owl took the timber industry to its knees. You can't cut. So we had 13 sawmills on the harbor. Now there's one. And so most of the men have gone. They've either gotten divorced or what have you. There's no work here. And to have started this deal, and they asked me to volunteer 9 years ago. I've been volunteering with the school ever since. This summer, we're not able to have our camp because of the virus. It's unfortunate. We're waiting on word from the state of Washington whether or not we can start with the kids on July 6th. What's going to happen to the season, I don't know. But it's become a passion of mine now to bring former players and coaches into this small area. We fly them into Seattle or Portland. We meet here. Each of the coaches spreads the word to these young guys. In a lot of cases, our suicide rate here is relatively high. There's a lot of rain here. And in some cases, there is not a lot of hope here because you're stuck in this harbor. Where am I going to go? We have had kids go on to Gonzaga, Washington State. I bring those kids back to talk to the younger kids. We just had a kid get a scholarship to Eastern Washington, a native Quinault Indian there's only been 2 or 3 in the history of this tribe. And dude, it's a big thing. I mean, they do powwows over there at Eastern. They do a lot of stuff for the natives. And Eastern, they've got Cooper Kupp out there at the Rams in Los Angeles. They had a great lineman over there with the Tennessee Titans. So it's not like you can't make it. We try to tell our kids in this area, Darius, that, we're going to make the big time where you are. We're going to bring it to you. We'll bring Dick Vermeil's been out here. Doug English has been out here. Number 1 overall pick, Kenneth Sims, one of my players. We're going to bring the big time, and these guys are going to explain to you that nothing is impossible. You put your mind to it, you continue to work at it, and you will be successful. And that's kind of the message that we have, for the kids out here. And I told my wife driving up here this year, Coach, that it just doesn't feel right. I just wasn't really looking forward to getting here. And we pushed the trip back because we weren't going to be able to have the camp. And we were supposed to have been here a month ago. And, when I got here, I was thinking to myself, why do I feel a little bit on the depressed side. And why, I got to think, well, what's different over the last, what's different is that every other summer, I was so stoked up to come out here. Number one, to see all my guys, my former players and stuff, to get the hotels ready, to get the camp ready, to get the function ready, our dinner, our golf tournament, to get all the auction items in line, to get them to the people that are going to hand the auction. Used to do all of it myself for the first couple of years. Then we started delegating. We made like $1,500 our first year. Last summer, we made $38,000 on the auction. We went from having 30 or 40 people inside the clubhouse at the golf tournament, which is almost totally full, to last year at the convention center with 250 people for a prime rib dinner, all you can eat. So we have really changed it. To think that a guy from Tacoma, Washington could pull this off, again, it's not me, man. It's all the people. It's all the people that we recruited to help us along the way that have been really instrumental. And they have taken the drive and passion that I have for these kids, and they've taken it to a whole nother level, man. And they've all bought into what we're doing. And it is so much fun to look at the faces of these kids every year and to look at the coaches and all the people that are involved in this thing. They all come out and watch the kids, even though their part was to do the auction and get it ready. Well, the whole thing is about the kids on Sunday after we raise money and have a dinner and a golf tournament on Saturday. And the coaches, and we have a get-together, a dinner for the coaches, so that old coaches that have come can meet new guys that are coming in. They can talk about their careers as a coach or as a player in college or in the NFL. We had 8 Super Bowl rings out here 3 years ago. And we had a Hall of Fame head coach, Dick Vermeil. People are like, how did you get this guy to come here? I'll tell you can ask him how we got him to come here. He said, these are my coaches. Al Saunders is here. Jim Hannafin's here. I got 3 coaches from our staff on our Super Bowl champion. Without these guys, we don't win the Super Bowl. I'm just trying to pay back. And that's the kind of the guy Dick Vermeil is. I said, Coach, we can't do anything but fly you in. There's no money. Oh, no, you're not paying my way. I got miles. I'll fly myself in. Because I've heard about what you're doing. Terry Tatalo, who Dick played for at UCLA, he comes up every year because of the local guy here, grew up, played with him in Long Beach High School down at Poly down there. And they grew up together. He said, I'll get Terry to come up. The next thing you know what? Shoot, I didn't know Terry played for Dick at UCLA, drafted by Dick at Philadelphia when he left. So, I mean, it's such a small world in this industry. And I guess the biggest thing, for coaches that are in this field, hey, and as I said earlier, there's thousands of recipes. There's thousands of different techniques. Always be open to listen to what other people have to say. I'm not saying my way is the only way or the way. It's the way that I did it. It works for me. And you're going to have a different way. You might plug in a little bit of this, a little bit of that along the way. But Darius is going to have his way that he coaches, and it's going to be superb. I think one of the reasons it'll be superb, quite frankly, is the fact that you're open-minded. And in this business, you have to be open-minded. If you're closed-minded, you will fall behind. And your players will notice that. You're falling behind because they have an open mind, most of them. When they go home and talk to their other buddies that are at Ohio State or Lamar University or University of Houston, they're going to be going, hey, Coach, well, what about this? My buddy from high school is doing this, and his vertical jump is this. So always be open-minded to these things and in this field. And if you are, you're going to be successful, like yourself.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach, and I appreciate your time. Don't want to keep you any longer. Is there any way that anyone can reach out to you, or if there's an email or anything that would like to assist with your camp? I know it happens usually every summer. So is there any way that anybody could reach out to you, contact you, that's willing to assist? Maybe they want to, give to aid the funds.
Right, absolutely. My email, and it's DADA DUKE at yahoo.com. They'd be more than happy to email me, and we'll get right back to them.
I appreciate that, Coach. Appreciate your time again. This is a Coaches Collective here with Coach Dana LeDuc. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure as always, and I will be in touch with you soon, Coach. Thank you for your time, Coach.
And it's always a pleasure to see you.
Yes, sir.
All right, my good man. I love you, and
Coach,
take care.
You have a good one.
All right.
Same here,
Bye-bye.
Coach. Love you too. Bye, sir.
Bye-bye.